Hello all, I am Dr. Jukalkar Sayyed Imtiaz from Shri Shivaji Science and Arts College, Chikli district, Buldhana. This is my third educational video on Still I Rise, a famous poem by Maya Angelou, an African American poetess. I acknowledge that I have used images for this educational video downloaded from Google Images. First, let's see the biography of Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou was a famous American poetess, singer, memoirist, civil rights activist. She published seven autobiographies, three of three books of essays, several books of poetry, and is credited with a list of plays, movies, and television shows spanning over 50 years. She received many awards and more than 50 honorary degrees. Angelo is best known for her series of seven autobiographies, which focus on her childhood and early adult experiences. The first autobiographical book is entitled as I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, published in 1969, tells her tells of her life up to the age of 17 years and brought her international recognition and acclaim. The highest honor she received was the 2010 Presidential Medal Freedom. This award is distinguished as the highest civilian honor of United States. The award was presented to her by Barack Obama, by the then President of United States. She had a very painful childhood. After the separation of her parents, her grandmother took care of her upbringing. She became a victim of sexual attack when she was only 8 years old. The trauma of the atrocity affected her speech for full 5 years. The company of books brought solace to her. The recitation of literary pieces restored her ability to speak. It was very painful for her to see the discrimination the blacks suffer in all walks of life of America. Her grandmother's stubbornness in the face of segregation and exploitation gave Maya the inspiration to rise in her life. To understand perfectly Maya Angelou's poetry, we have to peep into the history of colonization. During the colonization of Africa, the Africans were enslaved and transported to America for labor work. Slavery in United States was the legal institution of human chattel enslavement, primarily of Africans and African Americans. It existed in United States from the beginning of the nation 1776 until 1865. It was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of United States, who abolished slavery. There were several African American writers who penned the pains of the blacks in America, and Maya Angelou is one of them. You can listen to Maya Angelou reciting her own poem from YouTube. The link is given here. Let's read the poem first before understanding it stanza by stanza. You may write down me in history with your bitter twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I have got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I have got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I have got gold, diamonds, and thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise, up from past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise. Let's understand stanza by stanza. In the first stanza, Maya Angelou says, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise." First, let's understand the title. The title of the poem is Still I Rise. It is a line repeated in the poem many times. The line reminds us of the mythical phoenix bird which rises from its own ash. Then the poem becomes a bird's liberty song that wants to gain freedom. The Afro-Americans who suffered slavery want freedom. They are free now, but the American white society has not yet accepted them as equal. The equality and end of slavery in the American Constitution has not yet turned into social equality. The society has not yet ready to accept the black Americans as equal to them. At times, the poem becomes emotional in the tone and evokes defiant or rather rebellious feelings. The beauty of the poem lies in the use of simple diction, and it has very large appeal. The poem rebukes and scorns those who want to see blacks as slaves. If we see the poem in the larger context, it rebukes and scorns every social structure, mentality to suppress the weak in the world. Maya Angelou has employed a speaker in the poem who represents the poetess herself, and the second person pronoun you with which the poem starts is no one but the suppressors who are present in every part of the world and in every society. History is very important factor in the present day world. The history is twisted and truth is hidden. History is wrongly contextualized. It is used as a means of separation. The historical incidences are twisted to continue separation, but the hatred and greed and dominance cannot stop the rise and fight of the blacks. There is a touch of rebellion attitude in these lines. The second stanza, let me read it. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Cause I walk like I have got gold wells pumping in my living room. Here the poetess makes use of rhetorical questions. These are pinching questions. Even in adversity, the blacks have learned to be confident. The hatredness of the dominance gives them energy and cannot stop the blacks from rising. The rebellious energy makes them confident, like the richest person, as if the richest person has got oil wells of his own. The third stanza is like this: just like moons and like suns, with the certain, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. In this stanza, the poetess employs the images from nature. As the tide rises, giving response to the moon, the sun sets and then rises once again. Nature teaches us to rise even after fall. The suppressed learned from the nature to rise with dignity and aspiration. In the stanza 4, the poetess gives expression to her emotion like this: Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. For generations, the blacks were slaves, bowing their heads, tied to their master's will and obeying without question. While people want the blacks to behave like slaves, they want to see them again bowing their heads with weakened souls and unable to stand against their oppressors. These lines indicate the determination of the oppressed to fight against every form of exploitation. In the next stanza, the poetess says, Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I have got gold mines digging in my own backyard. In the similar way as rhetorical questions in the second stanza used by the poetess, here also she uses these rhetorical questions as sarcasm against the oppressors. The blacks have learned the ways to resist the oppressors. They know to cover the wounds inflicted by centuries of oppression and learn to smile back. In the sixth stanza, the poetess says, You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Only determination keeps a person from bowing before hatred and oppression. The hateful look cannot kill or stop the blacks because it gives them energy to rise. It indicates that slavery was abolished long ago, but the discrimination has not been yet fully eliminated from the USA society. In the stanza 7, the poetess says, Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I have got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? This pattern of asking questions and answering them makes the poem amusing as well as interesting, but at the same time doubles the sarcasm in the poem. It acts to strengthen the scorn in the poem and highlights how hard these people have fought to win their freedom and how hard they have to struggle to retain it. The whole poem can also be appreciated from feminist point of view also, because the poetess doesn't just speak about the black at the hands of white, but about every form of oppression, whether that of a female by a male or a majority trying to dominate a minority. Further, the poetess says, Out of the huts of the history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. For the new generation, history provides lessons. Through this poem, the poetess tells the new generation that in the past they were slaves and the freedom they achieved today is very valuable. The poetess compares the black race with the dignity of the ocean. The repetition of the line I rise indicate that the black race has to continue their struggle in future also. The last stanza of the poem, let me read. Leave behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am like the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. In this last stanza of the poem, the poetess wants every black to forget the past years of slavery like a night of fear and darkness. Her ancestors struggled and freed the race from slavery and gifted the young generation with freedom. In addition to the use of imagery such as nights of terror and wondrously clear daybreak, Maya Angelou uses an allusion. She says, I am the dream and hope of the slave. The phrase the dream reminds us Martin Luther King the Jr., who was an American black Christian minister and activist. He became the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. He is best known for advancing civil rights through non-violence and civil disobedience. He was inspired by his Christian beliefs and the non-violent activism of Mahatma Gandhi. He is, he is best known for his famous speech. You can listen to his speech from internet. It is freely available. This much understanding of the poem is enough for the students of compulsory English. But the students of literature should know what are the different literary devices used in the poem. The poem is composed in 9 stanzas as we have seen. The number of lines vary from 4 to 9. These are There are 4 lines in the first 7 stanzas and 6 and 9 lines in the 8th and 9th stanzas respectively. The students of literature should also know that a stanza of 4 lines is known as quatrain. The rhyming scheme in the poem also varies. The first 7 stanzas follow A-B-C-B rhyming scheme and the 8th stanza A-B-A-B-C-C and the 9th stanza follows the rhyming scheme as A-B-A-B-C-C-B-B-B. The poetic devices are used to increase the effect of the poem on the listeners or readers. The poetic devices also help the poet to tell lots of things by using minimum words. Above all, poetic devices make a literary piece poetic, otherwise it becomes a prose. The first literary device used by the poetess is assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line, such as the second of E in with your bitter twisted lies. The second one is consonance. It is repetition of consonant sounds in the same line. For example, the sound of L in welling and swelling I bear in the tide, and the sound T in out of the huts of history's shame. The third one is anapora. It refers to the repetition of a word or expression in the first part of some verses. The poet has repeated the words you may in the opening lines of the poem to express her ideas, such as you may write me down in history with your bitter twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. The next poetic device used by the poetess is rhetorical question. It is not asked expecting answer to it, but it is used to achieve a greater expressive force, such as does my sassiness upset you? Does my sexiness upset you? And did you want to see me broken? The next poetic device is enjambment. It is defined as a thought or a clause that does not come to an end at a line break and moves over next line. For example, you may trod me in the very dirt. Here the line is complete, but the meaning continues. So therefore we have to read the second line to understand the meaning. But still like dust I'll rise. The next one is simile. Everyone knows this figures of speech is one of the important figures of speech. It is used to complete an object. It is used to compare an object or a person with something else To make the expected meaning clear to the readers, there are several similes used in this poem, such as, "But still like dust I'll rise, just like moons and like suns, and cause I laugh like I have got gold mines." The next important figures of speech is imagery. It is used to signify all the objects and qualities of sense perception referred in the poem. The whole poem is pervaded with imagery of a bird, as the poetess repeats the line "I rise." She says, "You may shoot me with your words, and I am a black ocean, leaping and wide." In addition to these figures of speech, the poetess has used some words repeatedly. "I rise" is repeated many times. It gives musical quality to the poem. The meter scheme used in the poem is talkie. Talkie is a meter containing a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. For example, "Still I rise. You may write me down." I hope that you might have understood the poem very systematically. You can see lots of videos which are available on YouTube of Maya Angelou and enhance your understanding about the poetry of Maya Angelou. Thank you very much for watching this educational video.